Okay, I absolutely hate to stop people from talking, but believe you me, you'll have plenty of time to meet and talk with fellow attendees as the camp goes on. So welcome. This is our 15th doctoral training camp. I can't believe it's been 15. Some people have been here since the beginning. Whereas others, like myself, I've been here, I think this is my 10th or 11th, we're absolutely delighted to welcome you here. So my name's Anne-Maree Keenan. I'm one of the two Associate Deans in the NIHR Academy, and I have the absolute privilege over the last 5 years to support Karen Fernando and the fabulous team at the NIHR Academy looking after, if you'd like, the infrastructure. So welcome to their training camp. We have, this training camp has been designed, it was initially designed as an in-person event, and then we decided that we'd open it up to online for the first day. So welcome to our online delegates. How many online delegates do we have? 302. Sorry? 302 people online, so welcome. I'd like to introduce you to a couple of incredibly important people. Steve Wooten, who is the director of the program, and he will be he will be kind of coordinating everything that you're doing in the next couple of days. Vicky Goodwin, who's online. Vicky unfortunately has COVID, so but she's still going to be doing some of the online work. So she's the director of the online delegates. And then we have our previous attendees. So people who were here in your situation 12 months ago have been absolutely integral into our planning of the camp. So we've got patients. Do you want to stand up, guys, so people know who? So patients, we have SAFE, and we have Busola. So thank you, and thank you for all of the work that you've done in getting the camp up and running. Just a couple of housekeeping. This was on the note. Check that there are no fire alarms, but there are no fire alarms today. So if we do have a fire alarm, we need to calmly evacuate and go to the assembly point, which is the main car park. Wi-Fi, there is free Wi-Fi. It's under the conference is the Wi-Fi, and then the code is Delegate 2021, all in lowercase. The toilets are near the back of the room. We'll be having breaks throughout, so refreshment breaks at 2 and at 4, and then some downtime for the in-person delegates. And then for the in-person delegates, some networking and an informal dinner from 7:30. We'd like you to promote this, so if you're on social media, please use the hashtag NIHR Community. Sorry, that's the address, but then the hashtag NIHR Training Camp. We need to be checking out on Thursday, so can you check out before you come to the session on Thursday morning? You can imagine it, because there's so many of us trying to check everyone out kind of in morning tea is not desirable. Okay, for those people who are online, your attendee, all of you will be on mute. Excuse me. There's a Q&A function, so please put the comments there, questions and comments in the webinar chat. You'll be able to ask questions for the in-person delegates, but you'll also get a chance to speak with Vicky and is it Jane and Charlie about specific elements, anything that comes up that might be personal towards your situation. We have you'll have breaks at between 2 and 2:30, and then again between 4 and 4:15, and then a closing session, as I said, with question and answers that is being chaired by Vicky. And again, social media details. Okay, so a little bit about why we offer this event. And we offer this event because you, as people who are funded by the in-person delegates who are funded by the NIHR and funded through the infrastructure. We want to make sure that you feel included and part of the NIHR family. For our online delegates, you may or may not be funded by the NIHR because we've opened it up to everyone. But it's in order to get you to think about applying for funding, to hear some of our plenary speakers talking about how you define a research question, how you approach meaningful patient and public involvement, how you sell yourself. And so we're hoping that this will help in terms of you developing a funding application. And again, for the in-person delegates, we'll be doing some activities and we wanted a safe space for you to try and develop and implement some of the skills that you need in terms of taking that next step in your PhD career. Okay, so who is it aimed at? If you're here, you should be either partway through your PhD or very close to have finished your PhD from across the infrastructure. Who's from BRCs? Who's from ARCs? HPRUs? The schools? Incubators? Have I missed anyone? Patient safety, the most important one, patient safety research centres. And you'll see that you come from very diverse parts of the NIHR infrastructure, and that's deliberate. So we want you to get to meet and know other people who are funded by the NIHR across the infrastructure. And we've asked that you haven't applied for national funding. So if you've applied for a personal award, you've done your patient public involvement, you've designed a question, you've worked with a team, you probably haven't had the chance to do that, which is why we've designed the program as we've designed it. We absolutely know that strategic research has to be multidisciplinary, and this is a big part of what we're doing here at the training camp. So you might find someone who's in your professional background, but you may not, and that's okay. And we really want to encourage, enthuse and equip you to take that next step. That's a really important element for us. So what happens after your PhD? So for the delegates here, this becomes quite an intense process, and our previous attendees will talk to you a little bit about that. But it's around also managing your energy through this. So there's a prayer room, which is the Townley B. There's a quiet room, which is the Dunklaw suite next to the office. And please, we bring you away specifically to somewhere outside of a metropolitan kind of city so that you can enjoy and make use of the surroundings. And so please make use of the outdoor areas as well. Okay, the agenda for today. So first of all, we'll be talking about how to sell yourself and your project, then how to develop a good research question, then crucially, patient and public involvement, how you incorporate that and how that drives your grant. Then one of the really important things we do is that we like to have someone who's more of a near peer to you, so someone who's on their postdoc journey instead of having, kind of quite senior people. So we've invited Jane to come and speak to you about how she's managed her career in that particular postdoc session. And then we're fortunate enough to have Lucy Chappell, Professor Lucy Chappell, who's the Chief Officer for the National Institute for Health Research, the Chief Medical Officer. So she's going to be with us as well, talking about NIHR. And then, as we're saying, online delegates, you'll have Vicky and Charlie, Jane and Rosina to go through, and this is where you can ask more personal questions around your situation. And then the in-person delegates will be introducing you to the task. Steve will be going through the task at hand. Then we'll have our previous attendees talking to you about their experience and how their advice about how to make the most out of it. And then the in-house attendees, you will have been put in a group. And hopefully you've picked what the common theme is for your groups yet. Because the only common theme is that you shouldn't know anyone else in your group. So we're throwing you together with people who you don't know deliberately, and we're going to get you to pull a grant together, 24 hours. Okay? You'll do it. It's a lot of fun. Okay, and that's when we'll be introducing you to your, you'll have a mentor to help guide you in that task, and you'll have both who's an academic mentor, and you'll have public contributor mentors, so that you'll get to work quite closely both with the mentors, for the public involvement, engagement mentors and the academic, but they are not writing your grant. It's you are going to write your grant. They're only helping mentor you. Okay, so that's kind of the task for today. So that now allows me to introduce you on behalf of the Academy. So as I said, I've been absolutely privileged to be the Associate Dean for Infrastructure and Capacity Building. Structure things. Tried to think of a better name and we couldn't. So it's just things that, you know, like BRCs and ARCs and etc. And together with Lorraine Harper, she's responsible for the integrated pathways, so the IAT program for our medical colleagues and the ICA program for our health and care professionals. And we both work to support the boss, who's Waljit Dillo. And Waljit was one of the original architects of this camp. And so he's absolutely embedded in this, and his footprint's all over it. Is Dave here yet? No. One of the other mentors, Dave Jones, was Waljit's partner in crime in establishing this. So Lorraine, Waljit and I work in supporting the NIHR Academy. And we provide academic oversight for all of the amazing things that the Academy does. But I wanted to kind of make sure that you understood where the NIHR came from, because I think it's really important in terms of where you go next. It's really important in terms of framing kind of a question. So the NIHR basically was developed following a whole lot of work that was done reviewing how research was being undertaken in trusts. And up until that stage, every trust, no matter how large or how small, had to spend 1% of its budget on research. And so you can imagine when they had a look at it, what it was spent on. It was spent on usually small studies, N equals 20, that fluffed up people, usually medical colleagues, CVs, but made no difference to health and the care of patients. And so the fabulous Dame Sally Davis said, 1% of the NHS budget, that's £1 billion. If you give that to me, I will create the National Institute for Health Research, and that's exactly what she did. So it was established in 2006, and it was very much, and still is, the government's strategy for health research. And the vision back in 2006 was to improve the health and wealth of the nation. And the wealth of the nation is really important. So the health, it's not just about doing good research and being altruistic and making patients better. This part of the budget is the only part of the entire budget, she says at the moment, hoping this won't change with the new government, that has never been reduced. The only part, schools, universities, every other part has seen some real reduction, but not the National Institute for Health Research. And the reason for this is because it's business sense as well. So we saw during COVID how important the NIHR were in terms of delivering strategic research, the vaccine studies, the platform studies that could not have been done anywhere else. Okay, so this is why it's important. So it brings business to the UK, and it's really important to remember that. So the NIHR, this is what it was. So there was investment. You can see at the bottom there was, there'd be important systems to make research function. There's infrastructure, such as the clinical research networks. There's projects and programs, and up the top, people. And that's really important. And it's not, by chance that the people investment is up the top. And obviously, because it's NHS funding, universities and trusts need to work together, and a lot of the funding, so for most of the infrastructures that you're a part of, the funding will have gone to your trust partner, not to the university. But at the centre of that are patients and the public. Okay, and keeping that in mind when you're thinking about developing an NIHR funding, that you're taking money away from frontline services, so it better make a difference to patients and or to the public health. So the evolution, so since then, the Department of Health has become the Department of Health and Social Care, a fabulous move. As an Australian, the health and social care budgets have always been the same, and it works really well. Not as well here as here with the NHS, but that's another point. So it's become now the National Institute for Health and Care Research. So that's incredibly important. In 2017, I think, 2016, because they had 10 years of funding, we did a strategic review of training to see what was working and what wasn't. And the funniest thing is, keep this in mind, one of the big things that was fed back was that the programs are too complicated. We've sorted that. So the Academy was developed, and it was developed to bring together all of the parts that contribute to academic capacity development. There are new funding streams identified. The inclusion strategy is essential, and we know that we've got a lot of work to do to make sure that the NIHR is inclusive. And we've increased, so we now have a budget of $1.4 billion a year. Okay? Our mission remains the same, is to improve the health and wealth of the nation through research. And so when you're looking at coming up with a research proposal, keep that in mind. That's the kind of thing that will get funded. These are the different elements of what we do, and you might want to have a look at these in terms of developing a project, but importantly, this is a big part. We want to attract, train, retain our researchers of the future. So the Academy was developed and has a number of different roles in supporting developing people, and developing people from various backgrounds. There's often a myth that the NIHR only funds clinicians. If you take away the academic clinical fellows from the NIHR Academy, the largest group of people who are funded are non-clinicians. So that's absolute rubbish. So really important to kind of look at this. But we manage national competitions, we develop and design competitions for specific groups, and we do things like this, so bring you together to try and develop you as individuals. This is our simplified version. So this is what the Academy offers. Now, you can go onto the website and have a look at this. So the most important thing to take from this is that we offer a whole lot of pre-doctoral training, doctoral training, postdoctoral training, and senior fellowships from a variety of different backgrounds. Now, I'm quite proud that that's as complicated as it is, because it means that we're being inclusive. You can't have a one-size-fits-all and expect everyone to attend. What we need to do is just to make sure, and Karen and the team are working really hard to make that you don't need to know all of the different programs. You just need to know, I'm a health economist looking for a postdoctoral, and we take you there. So it gives you an idea of the complexity of it. And there are other bits of support. So, there's a whole lot of programs. The Insight program you might be aware of it's a Masters for Health and Care Professionals, because we know that health and care professionals delay going into research for so long, and they end up like me, really old before they actually, get off the ground. So there are a whole lot of different things. So have a look on the website. And I think the most important thing to know is that it's for everyone. And so we're changing the fellowships for all professions, because you may not identify as a profession, so it's for everyone. So please know that you are welcome. What you need to do, though, is to make sure that your fellowship is in remit of the NIHR. Okay? So go back to where the NIHR came from. Because of the audience today, we really wanted to highlight a couple of opportunities. So we have postdoctoral awards, and there are 3 of them. But there's the Advanced Fellowship, which is open to everyone. And you'll see it has a twice-yearly call, and you can have some clinical and practice options, but you don't have to. But that's for everyone. We have the ACAF, which has been specifically designed for health and care professionals, for them to be able to combine clinical with their academic development. And then we have the local authority, which again is a different environment, and it needs different things. You're not working in a trust, you may be working in a private organisation, and it needs to be bespoke. The bottom line you need to know is that there's schemes available for everyone. And the basic eligibility is the same, that you can. And why are fellowships so important? Because they fund you, your salary, no matter what salary you're at. They fund your research costs. They fund things like patient-public involvement, engagement, and for probably the only time in your career you'll get funded to do professional and personal development. So what's not to love with a fellowship? Keep in mind that the average cost of an advanced fellowship is around about £750,000 to £1 million. It makes you very valuable to your institutions, your host institutions. Okay? So that's what we want to do, is to try and kind of help you to get to that level. There's also this Development and Skills Enhancement Award, and so this is for people who are immediately postdoc, and we like to call this a bridging fund with purpose. So as the name says, it's not just a bridging fund for you to write another fellowship, it's for you to develop skills that you need to take it to the next fellowship. So it's very focused on you developing either methodological skills, it may be large data skills, so it's you developing something to be clear to take you to that next award. Quite flexible funding, but often it's that really important bridge because we know how difficult it is to go from doctoral to postdoc. And we also know there's a huge attrition of women across professions in that doctoral to postdoctoral. We've also just launched a pre-application fund, and this is absolutely, I think, a game changer. So this is a pre-application fund to apply for funding to actually develop a fellowship application. And the purpose behind this was, if you're on a fellowship program, you've kind of been funded to kind of help develop to the next level. That doesn't necessarily happen if you've never had NIHR fellowship. So this is big part of this is to try and get people who haven't had NIHR funding in to have NIHR funding. Really light touch application, and it's to buy time out, it's to get you some training to try and get to that next level. And then we have a couple of the grant for early career researchers. So the Research for Patient Benefit actually encourages people who don't have a very strong CV or haven't had previous funding to actually apply as PI for this scheme. And so what we would expect you to do is to have a team to support you as an early career researcher, but this is a critical part of what we're trying to do. So for program grants, you're expected to kind of have a fairly significant portfolio of activity. These are absolutely for career researchers, and so there's the Research for Patient Benefit and the Research Program for Social Care. But there are other funders available. So I've taken this off our website. And this is just for clinical researchers. So it gives you an idea. Wellcome, MRC, charities, people fund a whole lot of different, have postdoc fellowships in a whole lot of different areas. So, it's important that, you understand why, while there are other funders available, so why you want to go anywhere else than NIHR, I wouldn't have any idea, but there are these things available. Okay, so, and this is for the people who are Academy members, and the Academy members are people who are here in person. So if you're part funded by the NIHR and you're on a career development pathway, you're an Academy member. And that means that you're eligible for a whole lot of things. So you can apply as either a doctoral or a postdoctoral student for the Short-Term Placement Awards, SPARK. Sorry, Karen, I've forgotten your acronym, Short-Term Placement. Short placement, yeah, it's SPARK. And this is really good. This is for us up to $15,000 for you to go somewhere else in the ecosystem. So if you want to go to a trials unit or if you want to go to a bioresource, you can do that. The success rate is actually really high. What we've found, though, is while as PhD students, you probably have a fairly packed program and going off and doing that isn't necessarily appropriate. We find that postdocs, it's really you're really useful. Okay, so that's the Spark Awards, and we've got a local authority Spark Award as well. You're eligible to come to the conference. The last conference was Team Science. This conference, have we got a theme yet? Impact. And it's the 19th and 20th of November, so you can apply to come to the conference. And again, it's a combination of kind of plenary sessions and some breakout groups, and evaluates well. And I'm absolutely delighted to say that you are also eligible for the NIHR mentorship scheme. And the mentorship scheme is a formal 12-month mentorship program where you're paired with someone outside of your institution. We're hoping, and we would promote very much, that you have mentors, but often mentors within your own institution are more appropriate as a doctoral level, but not within your team. And the question, and I'm happy to discuss this, is can a supervisor be a mentor? And I would say yes, but no, they can't, because they have a different relationship with you. So the mentorship program evaluates incredibly well, and I'm delighted to say for the first time that we're extending this to people in the final year of their PhD. And we think that the people in the infrastructure like yourself, who haven't necessarily got personal awards, will benefit most from this. So we're very excited about that. Okay, what next? Okay, there's lots of resources. So seek out more of the opportunities. I've just flashed several things up on the screen. And so have a look at the different opportunities. The ICBS team, who are the team who've been organising this conference, please contact them. Most funders, but particularly NIHR, pride themselves on talking to people and helping people, particularly because we know it's a complex environment, and helping you navigate your way, and the team's fantastic. There's leadership development modular resources that you can get to on the website. Follow us on Twitter or LinkedIn, and you can sign up to receive newsletters by just following the link that's there. We also wanted to highlight that there are incubators that you may or may not be involved with. Sorry, who are the incubators? Which incubators are you from? Brilliant. Brilliant. Okay.
Clinical education.
Brilliant.
Mental health, social health.
Excellent.
Mental health, social health.
Excellent. So this is a very, we're just going through competition now. It's a small amount of funding, but it's designed to bring communities together. And they're usually communities who are underserved or underrepresented, who have particular challenges. So if you fit into one of these, contact the incubators, because they have a program. A lot of it is around signposting, and a lot of it is just around bringing people together. The YouTube channel for NIHR is brilliant. So all of you've got lots of different resources on there. So when we have a webinar, that's captured there. There's also lots of things on PPI that are captured there. Will this go on probably YouTube channel? This will go on it. So loads of information. And that's it. So that's a quick whistle-stop tour of the NIHR Academy. Oh, look at that. Thank you. I've been doing this for a while. And we want you to enjoy the day. So for our online delegates, please ask questions. For our group here, again, we want this to be an enjoyable experience where you're certainly hoping to upskill, network, and do things that you probably never would have done previously. Now, are there any questions? Oh, there's some questions from Charlie.
Can you hear me now? Yeah. Oh, lovely. So we've got somebody that's interested in applying for the mentorship programme and is in the second year of their fellowship, and they just wanted to know whether that's possible.
No. Sorry. It's the final year of your PhD. We fought hard to get this in, and so by having our final year PhD, we're stopping some postdocs from going in. But we think that it was really important. We know the postdoc journey is really difficult. And we think getting to the postdoc journey is probably the most important. So just wait for another 12 months, you'll be eligible then. Any questions in the audience? We'll get a mic to you.
Hi, thanks. As a final year PhD student funded by NHPRU, I was wondering if being part of the academy extends to once my funding finishes and I become a postdoc or whatever next.
You're still always a member.
Yes, we're going through that terminology now, but we want you to feel as though you're always a member. We're just going through, because we've increased the number of members that are available. But NIHR prides himself on being a community, and we want to make sure that you're part of that community. Charlie, any more? Any more in real life, IRL? No. Oh, we've got another question here. And then we'll do one more question online, and then we'll have to welcome our first speaker.
And I'm sorry if maybe this is answered a little bit later. I'm just curious, do the different opportunities you just mentioned, is there somewhere we can see where they flow into each other? Like, is there a recommendation that you start with Spark or DSC and then get into the All Fellowship, or no?
Absolutely not. One of the things when we talk about pathways, we think that actually has a negative connotation, because it means that you're following kind of a linear progression. Usually with the most interesting people, as the most interesting research careers, they've had a varied progression. And so no, it really depends on what you need at that particular time. And part of the application process will be defining that, or providing that rationale. So we want it to make it more inclusive, particularly for that. So it's up to you when you want to apply for what.
Thank you.
There's plenty of questions, but they're all quite specific to the individual, so we'll reply individually in the chat to them.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Okay, great. That'll give people the last question, but yeah, we do want to make sure that you have, because part of the thing of being in person was we can have a chat to you. We want to make sure that we capture that for the online delegates as well. So Vicky might be here for a long time with you, Charlie.
So I just wanted to confirm, because this is online, is it possible to catch the recording again?
So that will be on the YouTube channel.
All right, great, thank you.
Yeah. Do the delegates also get all the slides? Or yes. So you'll certainly get my slides with all of the links.
Thank you.
Brilliant. Okay, with that.